Kaiden, hi there. It's Martin and Nick, and we're going to go through the 10 Jackson Gardens property. So we've got an extra little feature, which is we're going to do some scoring. It just helps us kind of get our bearings on properties, and hopefully it'll help you. So it gives you an idea of roughly how much we like a property, and you might find it useful. I hope you do. Okay, let's get into it. And the very first thing we're going to do is put a screen share, and we're going to do the condition assessment first. So we've downloaded all the files, and as you may know by now, we just have a look through the sales particulars, get a sense of what's going on there, look at the floor plan. Then we look at the condition assessment videos, and then we go from there. So the first thing I'll say is that it's a reasonably nice property. Bit of now that's quite interesting. So it needs modernizing, obviously, and we can see that it's got papered or paper finished ceilings, which is actually quite unusual. Now I would, yeah, so you can see them kind of cracking and doing their thing up there. This property was probably heavily renovated around 30 years ago, I would imagine. And the reason I say that is because of the style of doors, which are these plastic pressed doors. So they're kind of cheap, light, with a cardboard filling in them. They obviously decided not to upgrade the gas fire back in the day. So that's probably about 50 years old, I would imagine, from the 70s anyway. So we looked at the kitchen. Kitchen's in reasonable condition. It's a kind of an economy.
I want to add that the property is built down in like 60s. So I guess they didn't change it. Yeah, something like this. Between like 10 years or minus or plus. So
yeah, it would probably be early 60s. So it has a feel of the 1950s, early 60s. Properties in the 70s had a very different style. And but anyway, let's keep moving on. So it'll be reasonably well built, which is a good thing. It'll have a damp proof course. It won't have damp issues. That's all good. It's got reasonably modern double glazing, and the double glazing looks all okay here so far. It just needs updating. Now you can see it's got the textured ceiling stuff. It's got the white ironmongery. Fair enough. The laminate flooring looks reasonable. The carpets look okay. This wouldn't pass. This banisters wouldn't pass. Would not pass building regulations today. And I suppose if one was purchasing this property, one might have to do something about that. The maximum gap at any point on a staircase has to be less than 100 millimeters. And the reason, because if you imagine a little toddler walking around here and they just climb through that and they're falling down the stairs. So that staircase and banisters is probably original from the 60s. And this all looks reasonably nice. No real condition issues to see here.
Yeah, just carpets need replacing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So these carpets are probably, that green carpet is probably very old. This bathroom suite could do with modernizing. Those taps, for example, are really quite old. And I think an elderly person lives here, hence the hand grip for the bath. So the hot water probably comes from an electric hot water unit. It just needs a little bit of modernizing.
A lot of modernizing. EPC, yeah, main boiler and radiators, main gas.
Yeah. So let's have a look at this. Lovely pictures.
And hot water is coming from main system, so it should be fine.
Okay, that's good. And interesting to see these cars. These are all reasonably good. That's a modern lease car, probably.
But it needs to replace the boiler, and boiler cost is around 3,000.
Okay. All right. So this is quite interesting along here. So obviously, originally there were garages along this whole stretch, and they fell apart or decayed, and they were knocked down, and a lot of these cars are now just parked on the street. Nice enough front area. The roof looks okay. It's concrete tiles, which are generally quite hard wearing. And it's purple bricks, which is always an issue. We'll talk about that later. And backyard needs a bit of a cleanup. But overall, this looks okay. There is some, maybe there's a leak. Yes, there is. So you can see, I'll zoom in here a little bit, is that, yes, there is an issue here. Right, it's just a small thing, but these small things lead to big problems. So you can see here's the gutter, and you see the way it's kind of bowed down like this. So when the rain comes off, it splashes down, straight down, and it goes here. And what's happened is that you get all this water build up here, and that can lead to damp issues. Now, thankfully, it's not rising damp. It's just a gutter problem. And once that's sorted out, then the property will be fine. There won't be a damp issue, but there might be some problems around here, but nothing major. It's just something to be aware of. And let's have a look at the videos. So they're not particularly high resolution. This staircase is kind of an issue, I've got to say. The open back, the big banisters. I think if you were letting the property, you would probably have to sort that out, because you would be liable if a child fell down that stairs and smashed their heads on the floor. And new carpets. So how much would that cost? It's probably like £500 to redo the banisters and put extra wood in to fill the gap. Textured wallpaper, fairly unpleasant, but the reality with this property is that it's reasonably well built, and it's probably, there's probably no issues with that. And on the walls, that'll be plasterboard rather than plaster and lath. So that's something. Bit stroby, that light, unfortunately. Okay, so moving on. It's fine in here, a little creepy death doll in the corner, very nice. And here we are. So this is probably a probate if it's empty, and if it's an elderly person and they've died.
New carpets.
I can tell you now that we got two issues so far. One is it's purple bricks, and two is if it's probate, i.e. the owner has died and the children, the descendants, are selling the property, then there's generally, in my experience, not all the time, but I would say half the time, the sellers prefer to sell the property on to an owner occupier, because they just don't like the idea of an evil investor buying the property and making money out of it. What they don't understand, of course, is that the people who live here need to live here, and they need to rent because they can't afford to buy a house. So it's a good thing to rent houses to people, but they don't understand that. Anyway, I'm just saying that this could be an issue. I'm just going to center my camera up a little bit. There you go.
Yeah, and I will change all the carpets expecting the stairs.
It's a complete redecoration and a new bathroom suite, I think. Yeah, the old bathroom suite would do, but just if you want to get a good tenant, you go beyond old, and that needs replacing. That's like £200-300.
Yeah, EPC said that it needs to be replace the boiler with new condensing boiler. So basically, that's around 2,500.
So yeah, I think so far we're kind of creeping up towards the probably 7,000-8,000, I would imagine.
Yeah, and plus you need to increase the roof, need to be changing a little bit.
Now, one of the issues with this property is the lack of parking outside, and
yeah, I will speak about this.
Yeah, so it's just a thing. People like to. The second most expensive thing somebody will buy is their car, typically. And they like their car to be nearby, because if the car is all the way down there and someone smashes the window, well, they can't do anything about it. So it's always a bit of a problem if you can't park the car outside. Anyway, all right. So pointing and brickwork all looks good. The double glazing is good. That's all good. Now let's have a quick look downstairs.
Yeah, carpets need replacing.
Yeah, It's oh, and also you've got these. I'll just show you here. This is a bit of an irritation. It's just another thing to do. So these are polystyrene, and that was quite a popular thing back in the 1960s and 70s. And then building regulations said you can't do this, and there's a very simple reason. If they go on fire, the whole ceiling will just light up, and they pour out really toxic smoke, and they're dangerous. And and when they're on fire, they kind of drip down. So you get molten plastic dripping down on your head, which scars you if you're unlucky enough to be underneath. So that all has to go. It's just more cost.
Yeah, this carpet is okay.
And here we are here. Yeah. Now, the only thing I would say about the carpets is it's nice to have uniform carpets, but they look okay. Yeah, it's just quite a lot of work on this property, but it's a fundamentally solid property. It's just, it needs quite a lot of work.
Yeah, and you need natural colors, so that's what.
Bye-bye gas fire, possibly bye-bye 70s stone effect hearth.
But it's okay.
And keep the kitchen. So at least the kitchen is reasonable.
Yeah.
And maybe it's laminated flooring and so on. So yeah,
change it to white.
Yeah, maybe. It's a nice enough property. But you know, the thing with the property is it's not just the property. It's the story around the property. It's the position, the capital growth, all of that. So let's get into that lovely stuff. Now, the demographics are reasonably good around here, and now so this is
really low.
Sorry,
crime is really low. Really,
yeah, it is very quiet, isn't it? So the issue here is one of the issues is that look at all these cars. So there's quite a lot of competition for parking because you can't park your house, can't park directly outside. Now, what I suspect is going on here is that people park their cars as close to the back of the houses as they can.
But the property is not there.
Yeah, I don't know where it is, but the main issue with this whole estate is that it's your classic social housing where the council planners felt that it was better that people walked to their houses rather than have their cars nearby. It's just an issue. It's not a huge issue. It's an issue. Very low crime. Demographics are reasonably good here. So they're typically they're typically middle class, quite a lot of ABs in these bigger houses. So the bigger houses get good purchasers. So this is all nice. And for this is kind of the bad end of the good area, if that makes sense. And it's not because it's got bad people. It's just the property doesn't have the car parking. It's a thing, and it's just something to be aware of. All right, so let's talk about capital growth. And this area is okay. It's okay. It's extremely good compared to the rest of England. It's okay for Manchester. And you can see in this corner here, very little growth. And that's because there's a predominance of social housing and there's quite a lot of crime and so on. But this other property, it's fine. It's in a better area. So a lot of social housing up here as well, where there are issues. Let's have a look. What sort of issues have got? Oh, we've got quite a lot of crime going on. That's not so healthy. Crime. All right. But anyway, this is the good area. It's the bad part of the good area, if that makes sense. But it's not a terrible part. It's okay. So let's just have a look at the coal mining. There aren't any issues with coal mining in this area, so that's fine. It's not going to suddenly collapse down a mine shaft. There aren't any issues with flooding. That's fine. Let's just have a look at the capital growth just overall. And I've got M34 here. So this is one of the strongest areas in the UK for growth. But in the very strongest areas, we're seeing, only 5% of areas stronger. So it's good. It's not crazy good, but it's good. Now, just to explain with capital growth, the way that it works is we have property cycles. This is 1845. And what's that? It's 175 years ago, roughly. And We've had 8 of them in 175 years, and we're on to number 9, and we're about here. So it's the last leg of the boom. And what happens is that people try and find value because it's difficult to find value. And so they go further out. They bid up less and less good property and so on. So so overall, I think it's okay on growth. I think it'll do okay in the future. And if I was to make my predictions, I would say it would be, let's see, it would be, yeah, it'll probably go up 9%. So 30% nominally. So this is 9% above inflation. I assume at least 5% annualized interest per year. So therefore, if it's on at, say, 180, then I suppose it'll be worth about 220, yeah, 220, that kind of money in about 4 years' time. It's solid, but it's so I think we're going to talk about price in a minute. In fact, let's talk about it now. So over to you, Martin.
Okay, I will share my screen, and I will set these properties built between 1950s, 1970s, I guess late 60s. And I will speak EPCs. I will go HD in 60. So basically, if there is
it'll get up to C relatively.
Yeah, and for making a C, basically what you need to do is to floor insulation so that it doesn't have, and it doesn't have water cylinder. Basically, it's like 30 pounds. And what you need to do, like low light energy, is like also 40 pounds. Heating control.
So it's just miscellaneous bits and bobs.
Yeah,
basically.
and
so there's nothing.
Yeah, and you need a new boiler. So I guess
it probably needs it anyway. It probably needs it anyway because you probably find the old boiler is about 30 years old. So yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the renovation will be around 7 to 10,000. I don't know exactly, but we will see. And the right location of the property is here. So it's far away from parking, but you can see there is a lot of competition on the street. So I guess it will be an issue, but not really, because I guess every property know where they park the cars. So
yeah, it's just, yeah, and it's low crime. Now, if it was a high crime area, then this would be a serious problem.
Yeah.
But because, it's low crime, so people...
all these houses here park here, this cars park there, this park here. So basically, all of these houses need to park around here. So it will be like an issue, but not some huge issue, I think.
Yeah, it's just irritating for people.
Yeah, and you can see some of the properties have extension, especially those here. So I think you can add extension if you want to like extend the basically.
Yeah, it is odd that no property along that road has an extension. So I wonder if there's any kind of covenant. Is this a leasehold or freehold, this one?
Should be freehold. I will just double check because it's privately owned. This is the property number 10, and it should be. I'm checking. It's loading. I think it was a freehold, absolute freehold.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, and as you can see, the owner own not only they own little bit basically on the front. So basically, it will be up to here. So maybe one day, if the road is made here, so maybe you can. So yeah, I don't know. So yeah, but it's have a possibility to make a road on this street.
That's true.
And
all right, so let's talk about what are we going to talk about next?
Yeah, I think it will rent for 850.
You're able to enlarge.
I think the rent will be around 850, maybe a little bit more.
And by the way, this is using Rightmove Plus, which is like a professional estate agency system. So it's not publicly viewable data. A lot of this isn't publicly viewable data, which is helpful for us to get accurate valuations and so on.
I want to find similar property. Like this is like 185. It's something like similar.
Is that the actual? Is that the actual sales price?
No market price. And this is our 170. Yeah, I think the asking price 180 is correct asking price, and I think it will sell up to 190. I will not pay more than 190 for this property, just because the yield will not really works. Because I wanna say that it will rent around 850, like this is the minimum, and if you buy it for 190,
But you're
then
going to
it
have
will
to
get,
sink at least 10,000 into it.
yeah. So and plus, yeah. So let's say uh,
So it's 3,000 for the boiler, 3,000 for painting and decorating.
carpets.
Possibly two carpets, 2,000 or 1,500. Then you don't need to do the laminate flooring, but you do need to do the bathroom. So that is actually 10,000. I mean,
Yeah, and
one
plus
can do a more accurate.
yeah, but and also you need to do the little bit the roof and the staircase. So yeah, it will be around 10,000. So let's say like 850 by 12, plus you have like 20 with all the renovation, like 190 and plus. So it will give you 5.1 yield. So
Yeah,
it's
it's quite
like
thin.
yeah, but I guess it will rent 875, maybe around 900. But yeah, because it's like an end of terrace house, and I think it will rent 875. So then it will give 5.2, 5.3. So it's tiny. So that's why I think, yeah, I think if you can buy it for 185, it will be good.
Okay, well
187.
let's can I share my screen and we're going to go through the final assessment.
Yep.
All right, so this is a new trick we're doing. Don't know if it'll work, but hopefully you'll like it. And here we go here. So for condition, it's in poor condition. It's like, for me, it's a 2.5. What do you think?
I will give 3.
Okay, so we'll go 2.75.
Yeah.
And for location, it's not a good
Oh,
location.
the location, basically the location is quiet and it's not far away from transport. It have markets, but I will give 3.5.
Yeah, I'll go with you on that. The issue is if it had the parking outside, it would be 4.5, I would say.
Yeah.
It's a good area. It's an interesting one. It's a patch of good area surrounded by quite a lot of bad areas, oddly enough. But it's okay. There's no real crime. So on area, I would say I would give it the quality of area, say 4. Would you
And
say that?
4.2. So
Okay.
4.1 together, I guess.
Yep. And for crime, I would give that.
4.75.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.5. It's actually very good. Demographic, it's somewhere around the 4 mark. It's a nice middle class area. It's doing well. For resale, I think it would sell, but it's not the hottest of properties because of the location problem with the parking.
Yes.
So I would give it it's all relative, right? So it's
3.5
not a
for,
donkey. It's a decent enough property.
yeah, good build.
I'd give it a 3.75 is what I'd
Yeah.
give it.
Yeah, I will give the same.
And for rentability, I would give it. Of course, it's going to rent. The question is it going to rent for like top dollar? And I think
No.
it will make a pleasant family house, but the parking is the issue. And therefore, 5 is it's just people will beat a path to the door. 4 is where you'll rent it easy enough, but you won't necessarily get the best tenants, the best premium tenants. So I give it a 4,
I will
considering how
say,
hot.
yeah, I will say the same. Because
And
basically, because you don't have really a great transport, like, so.
so I think the price, I don't know, Martin, you're the guy on price, but I feel that they're not really being that punchy. I mean, they're being a bit punchy on the price, is my view.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, I'm not seeing it as particularly good value, and I would give it a 3.75 or thereabouts.
Same, maybe around 3.5.
Okay, so I'll go 3.6. And then if we go for yield, it's an okay yielder, but I just don't see it as especially strong. I'm going to give it a 3.75 again. It'll
Yeah,
it's borderline, but it needs quite a lot of money in it at this price.
yeah, it needs. So I think they're asking 180 is a little bit optimistic for. Yeah, but and they know that it will sell like 5K at least more than the asking price.
Yeah.
And I think, yep, I will go with the same.
So finally, the capital growth, it's all relative. So if you're buying in Blackpool, you'd be very happy just to hang on to your money because Blackpool is a terrible place for growth. For Manchester, it's solid, but it's not stellar growth for Manchester. There are other areas which are stronger than this, that you can buy property with slightly better yield, but there's a whole lot more competition for them. And so anyway, let's just talk about that, and let's go for on growth. I'm sorry, I'm going to give it a 3.75 again. I know it's repetitive. We keep using that number. Okay, so this gets a 3.79 out of 5. It's okay. This is an okay property. And let's just quit screen share, and there we go. All right, so it's an okay property. I think we've got a few issues. It stacks up okay. If it's a 4, if it's anything above a 4, we're liking it a whole lot. If it's 4.5, we're loving it. And there are a couple of deals we've seen which are in that kind of 4.5 range where we're just kind of falling over it and we're like, it's fabulous. This one is solid, but it's not stellar. Yeah. So the issue the big issue is it's purple bricks. So it's really a question of just working out what your maximum acceptable offer is, and then you go in and just make the offer. It's very difficult for me to influence this because usually when I call the agent, I'm like probing around, what's your maximum offer? Where are we at? How many off? And I get a sense of the competition, then I kind of know, right, okay, this is how much should be offered on the property. And on this one, I think it's just you got to do your numbers and work out what's right for you, and then you go from there. And second issue, it's probate, and I just think they will probably, I think it's probate, and therefore I think you're at a natural disadvantage being an investor. All right, so what would you offer on it, Martin?
I will go 185, maximum 190. And I know that Kaiden said he will want to go maximum 187, so I will keep that price. Like,
yeah, so you got a chance of getting it at that, but you have these issues, purple bricks and so on. And as a general rule, I try to avoid purple bricks deals because it's just really hard work negotiating on those. Like I say, I can't do my magic on them. All right, thank you very much.
Offer. Yeah. So you need to send the best offer, I guess.
Yeah, so let us know what the numbers are, and then I can get to it and do what I can. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.